heard your shining voice and I recall we need art, let's make it known.
Hello and welcome to the Mainframes. I'm your host, Sabrina Carper, here to introduce you to our new video series featuring interviews with local creatives. In the midst of social distancing and quarantine, we hope these videos can give you some connection to your community and bring some light and art into your lives. In today's episode, our interviewer, Siobhan Spain, starts us out by interviewing myself. She and I have a lively talk about the series, what you can expect from future episodes, and my own artistic practice.
We need art, let's make it known.
This is Sabrina Carper. She's an intern with Mainframe Studios, and she's going to be our host of the Mainframes. So I wanted to interview her first so everybody can get to know their host. And the whole goal of this series is to check in on with our artists, see what they're doing, what they're up to, how they're being impacted. If their work is still available, how can you keep in touch with them and keep supporting them? And since we can't have our popular First Fridays right now, this is try to help substitute for that and be able to keep the conversation going and still engaged with Mainframe. And because artists are still there and working as best they can, and it's going to be nice to check in on them. So we haven't seen each other in person for a while. I was sick with COVID and recovered. I'm so happy to be able to say that. So we're doing most of these interviews via Zoom, or maybe it might have to be FaceTime once in a while, but it's going to be a little bit different format, but we're going to interlace it with images and links and all that good stuff. So there's still an interactive component and more diverse, kind of a rich content. So Sabrina is a senior at Grandview University in studio arts. So she has those interesting combination of skills of being organized and an extrovert in many ways, some ways, and also having a studio practice. So I love the fact that you are able to relate to our individual artists, which I think is very key, and being able to think about things from an organizational standpoint too. It's a great skill, and I really appreciate it. So I had the pleasure before this happened to go see your senior art show. And it was pretty awesome, I have to say. And I wanted to take this opportunity to talk about a couple works that you included.
Yeah, that sounds great. Well, first, thank you for coming to my show. It was a wonderful time. It was really great that so many people came to support me. It was my senior exhibition. It happened in March. So thankfully I was able to have the show before everything went crazy and things started shutting down. My practice, it sort of splits in a couple different directions. So I am going to talk about a piece from each area of my artistic practice.
Great.
The imagery that I use is found family photos. So I buy these lots of family photos on eBay, and I just paint photos. I crop them and adjust them and then enlarge them and paint them. And I think that that sort of like connection to something that's authentic is very interesting, and it really speaks to this idea of community and conversation, which I'm really deeply interested in. And so I couple those images with found text. So I search through archives online of chat conversations and chat logs from like the mid-2000s. And I just grab little snippets of conversation that I like, and I pair those with the family photos. And I think that juxtaposition of something that's really intimate, like a family, with something that's very anonymous, like conversing online, creates these very strange images that I like. So that's where Your Mom's Whack was sort of developed, as a combination of those things.
I love the tactileness of your paintings too. The fact that you incorporated the soft sculpture and the sewing in that just made it, transformed it into a completely different type of format or medium in that sense, that thinking that painting could be sculptural as well. And then there's it's interesting, even though you're referencing some digital aspects, that's not digitally represented.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're really referencing quite a few different materials from the past, and probably before you were born. And what's that about? What makes you interested in that?
I think I definitely live in a digital age. I grew up in a digital age. I think that all of the new things that we've been exposed to during quarantine for the coronavirus, it actually really speaks to my work, because this idea of being sort of isolated but still reaching out for connection is something that I think a lot of people struggle with in the 21st century. You know, we want to feel connected, but we also feel overwhelmed by technology. And so we really long for this sort of nostalgic sense of what it means to have a family and what it means to have neighborly connections, and some of these weird ways that people interact with each other that I've never even experienced.
So we find different ways to connect these days.
Yeah, exactly. And in my work especially, I'm really interested in the ways that people exchange with each other. You know, I think that everyone that you interact with really changes who you are a lot. You know, we learn from each other and we sort of mimic each other.
Mm-hmm.
So another piece that was in my show that sort of represents another subsect of my practice, this is an interactive piece. So I like to make these I call them art machines. I don't really have a better name for them, but this piece is entitled Give and Take. And so it's an interactive piece. It's a moving conveyor belt, and there are these little copper capsules in the conveyor belt. And the way that you engage with the piece is you open one of those capsules and you put a small personal item inside, and then you press the button and it spins, and you get an item that someone else has left. And generally, the idea is that whoever left that item, you don't know who they are, you've never met them, but I think it really speaks to that idea of when we exist in communities and when we exist in social groups, we're constantly giving to each other and we're also taking from each other. And that sort of exchange, whether we're cognizant of it or not, is implicit in social interactions.
Yeah, and we're finding that very true these days, aren't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. Well, it's great to hear you talk about these particular pieces and dive more into the details of the work, because I wasn't able to. And oftentimes when you go to shows, sometimes you don't get this in-depth conversation. So I'm hoping that these type of interviews with artists, we're able to actually dive deeper than we normally are. We wanted to start my art collection social media challenge, right?
Yes.
So I want people to look out for that. I might start with one that's by Andy Davis. So he's an artist. He's actually Pat Bodie's son, who is the host of 900 Views. And it was actually my daughter's first art collection piece.
Oh, that's wonderful.
So, yeah, we went to Yellow Door to his show, and she just was so responsive to his work. And she's like, I want that one.
I love that.
Yeah, so we supported her first, growing her art collection. So I just love his work too. So I was pretty impressed with her aesthetic sensibilities. I approved. But abstract, colorful. I loved how he thought about the frame as well, and how he could use that as a piece of the artwork. So, and I just really like where he's going with his career. And I love the fact that this piece, even though it's owned by officially my daughter, it gives me reference to his practice, and it makes me kind of think of him and where he's at and what he's doing right now. And it will give me inspiration.
Well, and what a nice story too, that's her first, the first part of her collection. That's something that I think really, really sticks with you.
Yeah, it does. It's pretty cool. So the final thing is, you are a senior.
Yeah.
So I really don't get into sharing old photos. But on Facebook right now, everybody's showing honoring seniors graduating by showing their high school senior photo. Tell me about your senior photo. It's with your friend.
Yes. So I graduated not that long ago. I graduated from 2016. So it feels sort of strange to share my senior photos because it's like I'm barely older. I look exactly the same. But I was so excited when I took this photo because the dress that I wore to graduation under my robes perfectly matched. It's our high school rock. It's just a rock.
So my senior photo, people crack up because they don't realize that I had black hair. So when they see a lineup of my siblings, they're like, which one is you? So this one is taken in Des Moines. A good friend of ours, Virginia McCunis, took it outside her house on Ingersoll. And Liz Edelman lives there now. And I just love the connection too, the small world connection. But she took my senior photo. I am the youngest of 7. And so I am camera shy, where if you see my sister Sarah, she's very photogenic. You should have seen her senior photo, and I hope she posted it because it's amazing. So I tried to look relaxed, but I was really uncomfortable. I moved around a little bit, but I graduated from Martinsdale St. Mary's, just south of Des Moines. So we have a farm just south of Des Moines. So it was a little farm school. Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. I love that. Yeah, I would not have guessed that you had black hair, I guess. I mean,
yeah,
makes sense because I assume it wasn't always gray, but
it's I just realized how much that's true now, just that more and more black is disappearing. So there used to be some reference to it, but I started going gray in high school and it just hasn't stopped. It's weird about that. You're just getting more and more gray. It doesn't.
Well, it's very trendy now. You could do the lavender gray too. That's all over the place.
Yes. When I lived out in LA, people asked me if it was my natural hair color, and I would say it's Lazy by L'Oreal. And I think I'm really going to bring that back. Like, I think a lot of people are going to have to embrace that right now. I sent Betsy, who cuts my hair, some Venmo in my absence because I just feel for those people that are those sole proprietors that slip in between all the cracks of this funding support that's happening in the world right now. And just trying to be like, well, I have to cancel my appointment, but I'm not going to cancel my payment. I just really think that it's important for us to keep circulating the dollars that we can into the economy, just because it's being felt in so many different ways. And I'm lucky enough to be somewhat secure in my job for now, and want to be able to share that love. And I miss her so much. I can't wait to be able to connect with these people that help us do what we do and look the way we look. And speaking of which, more other creative professionals.
I agree. It's going to be really nice to get to connect with everyone. Do you know who's up next?
Well, there's a few possibilities out there. We have quite a few people in the lineup. I think we could do, I think Brian Duffy would be really interesting. I'll save his story for the video. And then Adam and Tammy at Red Door Press, they've got full-time jobs, but they're still doing what they're doing and staying safe. And there's Amy O'Brien, who's trying out online painting classes and seeing what that's about and how to adjust there. So we've got a lot lineup, and that's our next, I guess, assignment is to get these lined up and on the schedule and get them out there for people to see.
Well, then let's sign off by saying tune in next time for a chat with one of those wonderful, amazing people and some really awesome local creative content.
I love it. All right. Thanks, Sabrina. You take care.
Yeah, you too.
Bye.
Bye.